Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Baka podcast.
Baka. It's amazing how every time you open your mouth, you prove you're an idiot.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Baka. This is that anime podcast where we talk. You know what we do. What's really important is me, Troy, probably the least important host on the show, now has at least the second best beard. Yeah, that's true. It's a major day. You be quiet. You haven't been introduced yet. Beardless. Guys, we're here to talk about anime like we always do that we watched over the past 2 weeks, and it was Nanbaka, which I chose and then got pretty much harassed nonstop for choosing it. But we're going to find out if it won over anybody, including myself. But to do that, we need to talk with the other host. And let me introduce them. First off, we have the naked to my gun, the beardless Jeremy.
You just got to rub it in. I'm doing all right. Feeling very, very chill.
I'm very excited. This is a big day for me.
You have not got a convert here. Well, you might actually. I don't know. This is job related, so we'll see if the job is actually going to stick. Then this will stick.
You know, I think your stubble's already outgrown my entire beard.
I wasn't going to say it.
It's been a few days. But yeah, other than work-related stuff, the only fun stuff I've really been doing is started watching Legion. Tanya and I did.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. I mean, I expected it to be cool, but I don't know. That first episode, though, boy, they jump really hard. Just jumping from scene to scene. It can be really confusing. I know it's intended, but it just seems overboard.
Right.
But anyhow, looking forward to tomorrow. We're going to binge it.
Good stuff. Did you in that first? I think it's the first episode, or maybe it's the second one, where the man in yellow is in the back bush.
Oh,
From
yeah.
that moment on, I was hooked. I'm like, that's so creepy that he's just there for no reason.
Yep. I want to say his name so bad, but I'm not gonna.
Yep. All right, so let's introduce the other host. Probably the best beard on that podcast, but whatever.
Oh yeah.
He is the adventures to my Pluto Nash. Jason, how you doing?
Doing pretty well. We got sun on the western side of the Washington Mountains for first time in probably 4 years. No. Okay. Well, it felt like 4 years.
Glorious day for you.
Yes. I got to do some soccer out with the kids and had a fire and s'mores.
Oh, wow.
Good times.
No wonder they're so hyper tonight. What'd you been up to? Other than s'moring.
Crashing spaceships into the moon on Kerbal Space Program. And
okay, so I've went and watched videos on Kerbal Space Program, and everyone says how fun it is. And then when I look at it, it just looks like so tedious of putting rocket boosters on random things and just hitting launch and then going back to square one. Am I off? Am I missing a component of the game?
yeah, so it's similar to playing Minecraft in creative mode. If you play Minecraft in creative mode, there's nothing to do. Like there's no objectives. It's just you in this open world. With Kerbal Space Program, the fun is in the career, because the career you have a certain amount of money, and your parts for your spaceships cost money, and the fuel you use costs money, and the Kerbals you hire cost money. So you get these missions for contracts for money, and you have to send up Kerbals into the stratosphere or into orbit and bring them back safely, and that's usually the tough part.
Is there a greater overall strategy where you have like a tech tree, or Kerbals have skills or are unique, or is it? There is.
Yes.
Okay.
So like for instance, pilots have they can pilot a craft to begin with, but then once they've leveled up some, you can tell them, hey, point it radial or point it retrograde, and they will just go there for you.
Okay.
So that, and then the tech tree is vast. Like you start off with like an engine with some solid fuel and a capsule and then you can get up to where you can build a very similar space shuttle as what you see today.
That's cool.
Yeah. So that's where it's at, is career mode.
Nice. I probably won't get it. Okay.
Yeah, I know. Challenging games is rough for you. So.
No.
Oh.
I've been playing Star Wars Battlefront because I don't care if I win or lose. I just run around as a stormtrooper. La la la. Hey, you walk over there. Oh, I died. Oh well, do it again.
Was that Palpatine in a tree?
Is that Palpatine jumping through trees? That makes sense. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Speaking of Star Wars, that's actually what I've been doing, is reading the Star Wars books for the new canon. I was a big fan of the old canon, but now that they started the new canon, I was like, now I don't have to catch up because I had fallen behind. I'm like, let's just start from scratch. And I'm almost finished with the Aftermath trilogy, which is all right after Return of the Jedi, about the Republic and how they finally wipe out the Empire once and for all, leads to the Battle of Jakku, which is a big deal for Force Awakens and so on and so forth. Really good characters that they added to the mythos. I really love what Disney's doing for interconnecting. You know, you read one book and you hear just a little sentence mentioning a speech given by a character in the cartoon series in the season 1 finale, and if you're paying attention, you catch these little interconnections, and that kind of stuff is my bread and butter. And I love Star Wars, so I'm really enjoying what Disney, the corporation who's probably just sucking me for money, is doing.
That's what Disney does.
But yeah, I am a person who believes that George Lucas signing that was the best thing he's done for Star Wars in a long time.
I would agree with that.
I can't disagree.
If you've ever read any of those stories of like cyberpunk, like authoritarian company controls the government kind of dystopia, Disney and Google are like those two companies that I can see in the future, where like we are indebted to them, and like we like they rule the governments of the world.
I think Amazon's getting there too. I'm pretty sure they are putting a video camera in every home soon. And I might be like on the waiting list to get it. Like, yeah, please watch me. Okay, let's go on to our anime, which was Nanbaka. Now, this anime was directed by Shinji Takamutsu. He's also done the comedy animes. I believe it's called Have You Heard I'm Sakamoto and Cute High Earth Defense Club Love. If you know what those animes are, the wackiness of Nanbaka makes a little more sense. Cute High Earth Defense Club Live is a magical girl anime, but all the magical girls are actually high school boys who got stuck with the magical girl powers. So they have to use the same like friendship and love and powers to defeat the evil aliens.
Part of that actually sounds like a really interesting premise.
It sounds really funny. I know my kids talk about it all the time. I haven't personally seen it. I have seen a little bit of the I'm Sakamoto. The only reason I didn't really get into it is because it seemed like a one joke. But the one joke was very funny, which is about a student who can't be messed with. No matter how you mess with him, he's always perfect. You pull the chair out from under him, but he stays sitting perfectly.
Oh, that's awesome.
Defying gravity. And it's just that kind of... So he's done comedy stuff. It's also written by Mitsutaka Haruta. I couldn't find anything on him. And the studio is Satellite, who has done Log Horizon and Fairy Tail. So a little pedigree to their name. And there was a lot of Gundam words that I didn't recognize. Guys, a lot of Gundam stuff.
Oh, yeah.
We need to give our non-spoiler review for those who have not watched the anime yet to decide if they want to do it. So let's go ahead and start with that. Jason, you're up.
I did not like this anime for the first 6 episodes. It's not in my wheelhouse. There's just too many sparkles for just no reason. And there didn't seem to be a direction. And I'm just not a big comedy anime guy. And I think that's why it just didn't hit my wheelhouse. The second half of the season turned me around from bitter despair to mild annoyance, and actually laughed a couple times. So because I don't have a soul.
I knew that was the reason.
But it's if you like comedy animes and you like silliness, this is definitely worth a watch.
Okay, Jeremy, how about you?
I've got to say it's very similar to what Jason said, although I don't even think that I've really converted even by the end. But I don't hate it. I don't dislike it that much. It's just, I'm also not much of a comedy guy, kind of a stick in the mud when it comes to anime. And this, the comedy that was in this anime, for the most part, didn't make me laugh as often as it tried. They fell flat a lot for me. But I didn't mind the direction that it took in the latter half. I kind of liked it a bit more. I would have liked if they had chosen a direction. This kind of takes me a little bit back to Blood Blockade Battlefront, in the manner that it would just jump back and forth between, that sort of dramatic action and then comedy. And I got a very similar vibe from this, only even more sporadic, I would argue. And so I didn't really like it, but it's not terrible, but I certainly wouldn't spend my time watching it if it wasn't part of our repertoire here.
So Jeremy, I watched the English dub. Did you watch the sub, I assume?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and how about you, Troy?
I chose to watch the sub, because I didn't realize there was an English dub, which I'm so used to English dubs taking forever to get done that I'm not used to this new Funimation Crunchyroll deal where they're making everything together at the same time. So I didn't realize there was an English dub until I was about halfway through. And by then I'd fallen in love, especially with one character's performance, that I was not willing to walk away. But you did tell me actually that you were watching the English dub, which I'm really interested to hear as we go along, if the jokes came across the same way. So that'll be a little bit interesting.
Yeah. And also, I think the endearment you have for the voice change, I think came across extremely well in the
They did it in the English dub too?
Oh my gosh. It was...
All right, we'll get to the character. Before I do actually give my review, though, I do want to mention, if you're listening to what we're saying and you disagree with them or disagree with me after I give my review, our next minisode is going to be on comedy animes in general and kind of going over what we don't and do like, which will explain a lot about what our feelings were for this anime. Jason and Jeremy have made very clear that that's just not their type of anime. So we're going to dive into that deeper, not in this episode, but in the mini-sode following in a week. So if you would like to hear that, we would love to have you listen to it. Yeah. Okay, my review.
That didn't come off awkward at all.
Guys, I really, really, really like this anime, but I did not fall in love with it. It fell a little bit short. After the first couple episodes, I was like, yeah, this is it. This is the jam. I fell in love with characters. The zaniness, the wackiness, that was hitting my sense of humor, my funny bone. I was laughing a lot. There's a big tonal change at a part in this anime, and from then on, I was like, oh, okay. I didn't see that coming, and it kind of threw me off my track. So it's not amazing to me, but I will say, if you just watch something heavy, like Death Note or Madoka Magica, which we recommend all the time, this is a great anime to cleanse your palate, to just get away from the life is awful and everything is doomed. Go watch some pretty boys run around in sparkles and have a good time, especially in the first half. That's what I was really enjoying about it. We've watched some really heavy episodes lately, or animes. I was really enjoying not having to care as much.
You do have a point there.
So from now, everything is going to be spoiler filled. Okay, so we're going to discuss characters. Oh, we're going to discuss characters. We're going to discuss jokes. Oh, we're going to discuss jokes. We're going to discuss episodes. Maybe not episode 7. Screw that episode. So if you haven't seen the anime and you were planning to, this is a good be. Yeah, whatever. Turn it off. Go away. or don't. We're going to keep talking. Guys, let's start with Nanbaka. This is set in Nanba prison.
Also undisclosed location.
undisclosed location somewhere off the coast of Japan. And one of the reasons actually I had to choose this, I mean, it's called the Numbered Bakas, and we are Baka. There's a synergy going on here. We can all feel it.
How dare you?
They have pretty boys. We have Jeremy. You know what I'm saying?
I told Tanya I'd come on here with a paper beard just for fun, but I forgot to do it. I was so going to do that.
So this prison is the most secure prison of all time, but it also happens to house the 4 greatest prison escapees also of all time. And the first half of the first episode is literally them just trying to escape their prison. And we very much get the sense it is a game to them. They are going through super lethal traps, giant balls that'll crush you, laser grids that will slice you or burn you.
Crocodile-infested pits.
Crocodile pits, and they're like, hey, they had that in Brazil. Dogs, guns, no, tranquilizer darts. I guess they did hit him with tranquilizer darts. Walls that'll crush you straight out of Star Wars.
And doors that will explode.
Seems a little bit of a harsh defense mechanism, but you know what? It's whatever. But we meet our 4 main characters, and so let's go through them one by one here. So the main character of the series, which I thought was actually not going to be the main character, but he's number 15. Every character is numbered, or every inmate is numbered. And his name is Jugo, which also means 15. So you can call him 15 or Jugo. What did you guys think of our Jugo?
For me, I thought he was the most interesting out of the quad duo. No, anyways.
For reference, I call them the non-bakas. Everyone might be a non-baka in this, but I call the 4 main guys the non-bakas.
Okay. Anyways, he had the most character growth and also the most interesting backstory. But there were some storytelling points that I don't think were taken seriously because it was a comedy. For instance, like there's many times he just reaches at chains and they just explode into metal shards. And I thought he could pick locks, not be Magneto. And then also like in flashbacks from when they're in different prisons, he has the 15 tattooed on his face.
Yeah, he's been 15. Well, I mean, his name is even 15.
Right, but I assumed all of them got the number, a number tattooed on them somewhere when they came to Nanba.
Yeah, I agree.
Like their tongue, because where you get your tattoo when you go to prison.
So, but anyways, I did find him the most interesting out of the 4.
Did you guys notice in the ending theme song, the part he sings, I looked up the words, and the English translation was very rough because it was very like a direct translation, so it doesn't make total sense. But what he's singing about is how to open handcuffs, how to picklock them. But all he's saying is you put the thing in the thing, and then it opens. And that's why the guard comes in and yells at him. He's like, "You're so stupid. If you're going to explain it right." And he's like, "Oh." So, yeah, then I put the thing in, and then it unlocks. And everyone in the background is like, uh-huh. So that's the end of the theme song, which is goes with your chain thing. Like he can unlock anything, but there's no explanation of how he does it. And they even joke about that in that ending theme song, where they're like, no, there's no finesse, there's no skill. It's just happens for him.
Is that the ending theme for every episode, or just for the end credits? It is?
No, for every episode.
I never watched it.
Oh, it's
as soon as the episode got over, I was like, next.
Oh, the ending theme, that was one of the best parts.
I have a rule when I watch any anime, even before we started doing this, that I will watch the beginning theme and then I will watch the ending at least once, because I want to be able to at least know what it's about, or at least see if it gives context. If it's awful, then I just won't watch it. So
yeah, that's usually my rule. This is the first anime I didn't do that in.
Shame on you.
I did the intro, but not the outro.
Your thoughts on Jugo?
Jugo is like angst central, and I mean it's fitting for his history, or at least how much of his history that we've learned. He's obviously suffering from memory loss, or just at least suppression. But I had a lot of trouble with him because the angst just was so opposite to the comedy that it was such a strong clash. And of course, being the major center of it, I mean, there were a couple other characters that had some angst too, but being our main character, having that angst and having a whole episode devoted to conquering that angst later, I was just, I had some trouble with him. But honestly, I can't disagree with anything Jason said about his character arcs, things like that. I mean, most of the other characters don't have much in the way of character growth. A little bit for a couple of them, I can see, but he's it kind of bored me a little bit.
One thing about this whole anime is most of the characters are pretty shallow and cliche, which is fine for a comedy anime. So I don't get too deep into him. What I really liked about him was the fact that everyone keeps pointing out that he's awful at everything except for escaping prison. Which it comes up multiple times, like, hey, do this contest, and he's just awful at everything. And because all he can do is just get out of prisons. There is a lot of mystery, especially in the beginning where they talk, the warden mentions his father at one point. The greatest embarrassment of Namba prison, something, she names his number and he has a name, prisoner name. And we don't really get any info on that. So there is a lot of mystery behind him. His powers, I think, are cool. Kinda. You know, he has blades. He has cool blades, and they're cool magic blades, right? They're not just regular blades. He was more interesting when we found out he had a bigger
yeah. I don't know what to say.
Other than that, there's not much to say about him. Like I said, most of these characters are shallow. There's not a whole lot to dive into. His jokes were funny. I liked the way he interacted with his friends, but I liked the four mains' friendship is one of my favorite things about this anime. I got really into their friendship and how, you know, they looked out for each other, and also how naive they really were for convicted criminals.
I think that was one of the big issues I had with the whole thing, besides the fact that they didn't actually try to escape very much. Like, I think just...
Oh, they don't want to.
3 episodes? I know, but like that was the premise I was under the impression the entire series was going to be about. And
especially the anime starts off with a prison escape, and then we find out, they don't actually want to leave.
I would have liked that. I think that had they done more gags regarding that, it would have been pretty cool. But, yeah, their relationship was interesting, but it just everything felt so not prison-y.
They did do quite a few gags of just, you know, the guards would be interacting or, you know, doing something, and then Jugo's just like there and makes some sort of witty comment, and they're like, "Wait a second, what are you doing here?
Yeah, this is prison. What do you can't just come in here."
I think they only did that in a couple episodes, but I do remember it. Yeah,
I think you're right. A lot of this anime doesn't feel prison-y, but I think that's done as a joke, and for a lot of the times I enjoy that. You know, their prizes, the fact that they have working internet and they just research whatever they want.
And then the prizes at the end, that was overboard.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, their naivety, their almost innocence compared to every other character around them. Like, please don't fight and hurt each other. I like that. Okay, let's go on to the next character. Number 11, Uno, the master of luck and the ladies' man of the group, who also is kind of the mother bear of the group. Jeremy, what do you think of this one?
I like his hair, to be entirely honest. I love the braid. I love that braid. Oh, that is so cool looking.
So let me ask you, who's braiding it?
Did we really just go down this road?
I had this discussion with my teenage daughters. We sat around for like 20 minutes discussing this braid. What else did you like about him or not like?
Actually, I loved the fact that it was because of his different outfit that I realized, oh, wow, okay, yeah, they're all given outfits regarding, you know, which particular country that they happen to be jailed in first. Because I was bugging me. I was like, why are they in different outfits? But, you know, you've got the 2 from America, the 1 from Britain, and then you've got
I literally didn't get
Japanese.
That, but that's spot on, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of the outfits for the other characters that we meet later are also in regards to their original place of arrest.
Yeah.
Which makes no sense logically. Like they would be getting their new prison garb when they enter this prison, but whatever. It's part of
I
the
think we should throw away the word logic
Yeah.
in this entire discussion.
Yes,
It's not going
yes.
to come into play.
Yeah. Other than that, he was. I really liked the scene in the tournament when he was doing like the Maverick thing, catching all their tells. So I thought he was a really interesting character for that. But
All right, Jason, what did you think?
Bored me to tears. He wasn't funny. I don't really have a lot to say about him because I didn't care about him at all. His mother bear instinct felt out of place. For somebody that's supposed to be a hardened criminal, he sure was really kind and generous and wanted to get along with everyone. Meh.
They made a murderer apologize, and then was like, now we cool.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of the case for all of them. Was like, it's that thing, like you said, Troy. We got to throw logic out the window. These characters, none of them behave like criminals, and yet we're supposed to believe they're in here for the most heinous acts. Every single one of them that we've been given a backstory for so far has been wrongfully imprisoned or accidentally did whatever they did. And then had this chain of going from prison to prison.
Right, and the reason their prison sentence is so long is because they keep escaping. Like, they would probably have been out in a couple of years. So they just
exactly.
Stay in place.
Yeah, so none of them are actually hardened criminals. They're all just, oops, I wound up in jail and didn't want to stay there.
Do we know their ages? Are they high schoolers, adult men? Do we care?
I know Nico's young. Beyond that, I have no idea.
They make it feel like they're all at least over 18.
I really liked Uno. I thought the jokes about the pretty boys. I mean, everyone in this anime looks pretty. They do. I mean, every man is drawn with like a sharp pointed chin and haunting eyes.
I did like how they were all really pissed at Seitaro. Yeah, because he was like the prettiest.
That's the blue-haired guard, right?
Yeah.
Stars. Okay. Yeah.
I like the jokes on that. I really did like the card battle when the twist on that. I liked his mother bear of the group. I probably of the four, he was my favorite. I actually thought he was going to be the main character, and it wasn't him. But I liked. He's out of his depth in the big story that's coming, and keeps going with it anyway, and I appreciate that.
My mind always takes pretty boys in jail stories to a bad place, and so I don't necessarily like having a bunch of pretty boys dressed up like girls in jail, because to me that says don't drop the
one
soap.
character, two characters are just like girls. Okay, my wife saw Nico and was like, "Oh, there's a girl there." I'm like, "No."
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was.
Let's talk about Nico next. We brought up Nico. Jason, what do you think of Nico?
Nico's definitely like second in line from Jugo for me. I do want to explore more about his ability to be infected by other people's around him, and literally be able to take any medication. And either not be affected by it or have it have different effects that are nearly always beneficial. And I think I don't like his character.
Wow.
He's like my second favorite character, but I don't like him.
Well, I don't like
his behavior.
Yeah, his behavior just does not make sense for a person that's been tortured, experimented on, and then imprisoned for years and years and years. Mm-hmm. But I think that part of Nico is interesting, and I would like to see more about that. So,
I think Nico has a dark side we haven't seen yet,
and I'm hoping that would at
maybe
least get a little interesting.
I wouldn't be surprised if they say that, hey, yeah, no, he's been on this other drug this whole time that's been suppressing this dark side. I could totally see that.
Well, he does have to get treatment every day and take his medication every day.
Yeah, just to stop him from like being influenced by other people. Yeah,
like a weird girl robot.
Jeremy, what did you think of him?
Weird Girl Robot was like the best episode in the entire season.
that one made me nearly not finish the anime. I was so freaked out. That's getting out of hand.
Oh, it was great. What color are your panties? Anyways, she's a robot. Come on. I thought you don't mind if she's a robot. But as far as Nico goes, I do think that he has probably, in my opinion, he's got the coolest power of everybody. I mean, Flame Guy, Blades for Arms Guy, whatever Rock's power is that we don't know yet.
Just
just incredible.
Rock is strong, and Uno's just skilled and lucky.
Yeah. Nico is very interesting. And, you mentioned something when we were first talking about this anime, the fact that Nico always has that ball and chain that he's carrying around with him, and he acts like it's not even there. And that is fascinating to me because, that says something, unless it's just more aesthetics. But I'm pretty sure based on the drugs and stuff and the way that all these characters have abilities, there's going to be a reason revealed at some point. So, he's interesting. I also kind of liked the fact that he was an otaku. I liked that. I thought it was nice how all four of these characters did have something that would just kind of sedate them and make them super happy. And his wound up being, he's just like you guys. He's like you, the viewer. So I kind of thought that was funny too. That was pretty good.
I like that he was the pet of the group. There's a thing where they're like, we're like brothers all living together. He's like, am I your brother? They're like, no, you're a pet. You're the pet. But they do. I mean, they take care of Nico probably more than they even need to. But I kind of enjoy their personality. He's very weird. He's the almost wackiest. You don't know what's going to come. He hugs giant evil dogs. They turn into puffball. And they're like, wait, drugs shouldn't do that. What is happening?
Yep. There are so many Deus Ex Machinas in their group.
His battle in the tournament, though, was definitely my favorite. And I also think the funniest. When we get to it, we'll talk about it. But I really enjoyed that scene. And then our last member of the group is Rock. Rock was just kind of there for me most of the time. He's just kind of an extra voice in the group. Even though when they started getting into his backstory and how he connected with Jugo, I did really appreciate that. But otherwise, I just kind of was like, he's just the guy that's also there. He seemed like the least. He seemed like the least personality to me, and that I didn't have much thoughts on him. How about you guys?
Man, I feel very much about Rock that I did Uno. I didn't like him. I thought his backstory with Jugo was stupid, and I did not enjoy his character. I found it endearing, but the fact that you've got, again, this hardened criminal that his favorite pastime besides eating is beating people up. But then he goes, hey, my absolute one and only rival, please come and have a meal with me so we can be best friends.
I tell you, man, it's a daycare or a resort. This is.
How are you guys upset by that? I was super endeared by that. Like, Rock, good on you.
It makes the character unbelievable.
But they do point out that he's changed very much from how he used to be. That's not his original character. That is a growth that has taken place because of Jugo's influence. And he even points out, like, I mean, the reason that guy hates him is because he used to beat him up all the time, and now he's just like, that's just not who I am now. That's not what I'm about. I'm about pizza.
See, that's what's really weird too, is like, it seemed to me like Jugo encountered him in another prison entirely. And so we know that he spent some time in prison 5, I believe it was, that the monkey is presiding over, and that's where inmate number 2 is, that they got in fights and he beat him up. So it makes me wonder, like, did he really have that entire character arc in Nanbaka prison, or was that something that took place since Jugo met him?
It had to be since Jugo met him, because they went through a bunch of prisons. Nanbaka's the final one they've gone to, so he wouldn't have gone to Nanbaka, left, come back.
So then it seems strange. Like, why did he beat up that guy in that cell?
I think you're overthinking it.
I know, but I can't help it. This show is like...
But this is literally the worst anime to do that on, because they're not paying attention. There's no quality control on those kind of elements. They're just like, hey, say he knew him from a week ago. That doesn't make sense. He lives with the other 4 guys forever.
Yeah.
Why?
Right.
What?
Yeah. As far as Brock for me goes, I liked that he got to introduce the stone oven, because I've done research into that in the past, and that thing is awesome and fascinating, especially if you go into like medieval history and how the stone ovens were used. Really, really cool stuff. And they held true to it when they gave the descriptions. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh, this is so cool. Oh, that's awesome. So yeah, that was, for me, that's how I remember Rock fondly.
Yeah, so they get out. They actually do manage to get outside of the prison, and there is waiting the final trap, which is the head guard of their building. And this prison is in multiple buildings. Their head guard is Hajime, and he beats them all senseless easily without even trying, using their own gimmicks against them too. Because like Uno comes up to him and does like a paper rock scissors thing, and he does it too, but still wins. and I love that Jugo was like, all right, let's fight. And he punches him like, you're only good at escaping. You can't fight. Get back in yourself. What did you guys think of Hajime? Now, I already know you guys, this is your favorite character, so I'll let you take it away.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
Okay. I really liked Hajime because he reminded me of One Punch Man. In the sense that like he's so superior to everybody here. And I mean, his power level is just above theirs, and he's always telling them to behave. He's like a babysitter, and they're all in preschool or something, or they're all at a resort, and he's just, preschool really sounds best, I think. And he's always just trying to get them to behave themselves, and his expression is always exasperated. And I really liked that about him. He was kind of like the straight guy in the middle of all this chaos. Straight man.
Very much so. How about you, Jason?
I definitely agree with that. He was he was the comic relief for the comedy that I didn't like.
Yes.
I loved his just absolute irritation with having to deal with this basically non-threat irritation, because he's like, what are you thinking? Why in the world do you even try to come at me? Kind of feel to him. But even the guards, like he was not leagues, but he was definitely the most powerful guard there.
My only issue with him, I did appreciate him as the straight man, like you guys said, but he kind of has a murderous intent to him.
Yes, in fact, they asked him, "Who was your job?" Because what was it? Well, they were like, they said, "Why are you so mean?" He's like, "It's my job." They're like, would you kill if it was your job?" He's like, "Yes."
But not just the inmates. He tells the guards multiple times, "Get in my way, I'll kill you."
Uh-huh.
He keeps saying that, and I'm like, "Are you a villain? What is happening?"
And I loved it. On his time off, he was working. Yeah. Like he was suspended, but he was like, "I better get all this paperwork done." So
he's a stereotypical classic Japanese, addicted to work guy. But there's a plot arc going through where he's actually taking care of these 4. And he watches out for him, and they ask him like, "Do you want to play cards?" Almost insinuating that he has before. Mm-hmm. And then like I said, he turns around and he's like, I'm going to kill this guard in my way. And I have a hard time figuring out where he stands, which is a little perplexing to me. But like I said, as a straight man, he's very important, and he helps a lot of the jokes land.
Mm-hmm. I think he's really got one focus, and that is whatever job he does, do it perfectly. And his job here is to, in a way, rehabilitate, but also just imprison these guys. And so I think he's so focused on that as long as they're staying in their cells, he's a happy guy. And if they happen to be rehabilitated, that's going to be even better. And I like that.
There's a small joke throughout this whole anime I don't know if you guys picked up on, but like in the first episode, he mentions that his stomach is hurting because of the stress these guys are putting on him, and it keeps coming up. And in the final episode, he's taking medication for it. They are slowly driving this man insane.
I didn't catch the medication.
That and he goes from like smoking like one in like 3 episodes to like smoking every episode,
smoking all the time.
Yes,
smoking and non-smoking. Like he was smoking in the employee smoking lounge, and then he's smoking in hallways next to no smoking signs. Like, they do a good job of weeding in that stress into his storyline of how these 4 guys are getting to him, even though he acts all cool on the exterior.
Yep.
But my favorite part of Hajime has to do with the next character who shows up at the end of this episode, and it leads into the next episode, which is the Warden Momoko. And he has to go and present his report on these prisoners because she's suspicious of them. And he's like, no one's escaping, no. And he acts all cool and collected, and he walks away, and she does the scene where she turns around and her assistant guard, Goku, is like, oh my god, she's shaking with rage, and it goes to her, and she's like, he's so cool. And she turns into this chibi version of herself, and her voice just goes to this high-pitched high school girl. That was the voice we were talking about in the sub. It was perfect, and Jason said it was even good in the dub. That it goes from like this, she's this hardcore woman that everyone is afraid of in this prison, and I love that. And then she flips into this melting high school crush girl because Hajime is just so awesome to her. It gave me so much comic relief.
Well, actually, it's funny because throughout the anime, Hajime not only doesn't pick up on that she likes him, but he thinks that she's got murderous intent for him. Like, she's going to kill me.
She's staring at me, and she's like, ba-boom, ba-boom. Oh, he's so hot. He's like, oh no, she's looking at me again.
Yeah, because in the sub, I recognize the voice actress for like a very stereotypical stoic heroine, really tall, usually long blonde hair, just like power woman. Like when she turns, it's that like young, like really tiny voice. And he's so cool.
I think it's also really cool how there's only 2 characters that know her true feelings toward Hajime. One is the DJ, and the other is the dog, which not really dog, but
the dog guard.
Guard, yeah.
The pheasant guard knew too.
Did he really?
Yeah, it's only Goku who doesn't know the monkey guard. And Hajime himself, and it seems like almost everyone else is in on this secret.
Because I just love it when every now and then they'll have somebody else say, oh, she's glaring at him. Oh, she wants to kill him. Oh, she's so angry. Look at her right now, and she's really just giddy and in love. It's really cute. Yeah.
I did like in this scene though that Hajime is so very much Japanese business overworker that he's like, no, there's nothing going wrong. Even though he just prevented a prison break of 4 prisoners, he's like, nothing's wrong. Everything's great.
Yeah, he's keeping and they break out frequently, and I think they say that was the second time today, the one we just saw, because and they aren't trying to get out of prison. This is a game to them. This is fun. Yeah. But he's keeping it all under wraps. That like, nope, everyone's staying in their cell all the time.
Yep.
I mean, there's some stuff in this episode that's more silly. They do a woodworking where they have to build carpentry, and then they keep messing up, and he keeps getting pissed. The please stand by for errors, and it's Yamato, the workout guard, just doing push-ups.
Okay, that was good. That was good. I'll give you that.
Not what led into the interruptions, but those interruptions always being Yamato. Yamato's a great character.
He's funny.
Time to talk about, but he's just the guard obsessed with fitness, and he sucks at being a guard. He's always lost, and all he wants to do is like, oh, are we going for a jog as they're escaping?
Yep.
Actually, in the very first scene, like he is the first guard in pursuit of them, and like they're like, yeah, Yamato, go get him. He's like, actually, I don't know where I'm at. Can you help me get out of here?
Lost. Yep.
Actually, I didn't really like Yamato all that much because he was another comic relief character for the comedy, but that was his shtick. I think the funniest part for him was near the end where the the three are like feigning that Jugo's dead so that they can have a day off from not training because they are so terrified of training with him.
Yep.
Like, wait a second, he's not dead. Shh.
So after some business with the inmates, he has to go back to the warden and present their reports on him, and we kind of get a little bit of their backstories. And I love how they always guess at their mysterious backstories, and it's always more simpler the way he presents it. Like, Nico, does he have mysterious powers from experiments? He's like, no, he hates needles, and every hospital or every prison gave him needles, so he escaped. But we give oral medication, so he stays here.
Yep.
And then Rock is, he had to avenge against a rival gang? Like, no, he hates the food, and we have great chefs here. And then Uno's was, did he have to gamble? Did he have to pay bills for his sick girlfriend? He's like, no, he had a date. He always had a date, so he would just leave the prison. And he hasn't had a date in a while, so he hangs out here.
And don't they give him like excerpts from magazines and stuff?
Yes, that is the way. We'll come to that later, but
okay.
He has all these ways to placate them.
Okay.
And then Hugo, he just says, well, he doesn't feel like escaping. But because Jugo's the one he doesn't understand. He's like, there's something else going on with this guy. Everyone else is simple, easy to get, but Jugo's got something going on underneath the surface. And so he just kind of makes up this really simple lie of, he just said he doesn't feel like escaping, so he doesn't. Which, I mean, he does every day. Every day.
Most of the time off camera.
But that all goes well. And then the Nanbakas escape again. Oh, no, they don't. They don't escape here. They talk about why they like staying in this prison in this scene.
I was trying to remember. Did they do it like right before the credits or something? But yeah, I can't remember.
It's the next one. So episode 3, we meet the worst character ever. A new prison who's also a regular escapee prisoner is transferred in, and the warden decides put him in building 13, cell 13 for reasons. And this is a ninja. And while I appreciated the Naruto jokes that went in here, like replacing himself with a log, other than that, the character really fell flat. Most of the Nanbakas are super excited because he's like classic Japanese ninja, and they're like, ninja, do ninja stuff. And Jugo's like, this isn't a ninja. Ninjas aren't like a thing anymore. This isn't a thing.
Yeah.
And then so we have to talk about this character though, because he gets his very own backstory episode. So give me like 2 sentences each about Skuno. So Skuno, please help me. 99. His name's 99.
99. Yeah. I don't even remember his actual name.
Hard to pronounce.
Right.
Yeah. There's
2
one
sentences. You got to come up with 2 sentences for the.
It was the backstory episode was.
Well, we got to talk about that separately, barely. I just want to know about the character.
Just about it was kind of funny to watch a dude that was so adamantly I'm a ninja, not only blatantly try to copy Jugo with everything he was doing during his jailbreak, but then surround himself with caltraps to where he could not get out.
That part I did laugh at, and especially when it's set up, because eventually when they had this big escape championship, he challenges Jugo to an escape championship, and the other Nanbakas just follow to watch. Yeah. But they get caught by Hajime, and he's like, he throws out these caltraps, and then he looks around, and he's surrounded by them. And
so Hajime just leaves him there
with a sign that says "in timeout," and he just has to sit there in the middle of the hall. That I laughed at.
That was good.
But yeah,
I just It's kind of the way I felt about Uno and Rock. Just meh.
See, I feel like Uno and Rock are at least important to the story and important to other characters. I don't feel like this character has any relevance at all. And maybe in season 2 it's coming?
Yeah, I think it's a matter of time because I can't imagine that they would devote an entire episode to him without giving him some greater part in the story later.
You would think.
Baka, anything's possible.
It's true. It's true. I mean, he could just be there for the gags. I mean, maybe they just needed a ninja to be able to make ninja gags. I did really like the jokes about every time they came up about how Uno, Rock, and Nico would, freak out whenever they saw something Japanese, and they're such fans, and they just love it. That was great. Japanese apology.
I really liked that in episode 2 when he gave that report. He pointed out all their nationalities. I was like, that's really kind of odd that they really point out how they're from different places. And I kind of realized, like, oh, Rock's Native American and Nico is Latin. I didn't get that, or Latino. Mm-hmm. And then when this Japanese character shows up and they show how they're fawning over this Japanese culture, and I'm like, oh, they're really like going for the otaku thing. Like, oh, I get that. Because if I went to Japan and I saw I was claiming to be a ninja, I'd be like, yeah, ninja. I'm so excited. I can't blame them for the reaction.
Yep.
I did like how annoyed Jugo was at it though.
Yeah, because he is actually Japanese.
Yep. He's like, this is all just regular, guys. It's not worth freaking out over.
I want to talk about one more character who has a big time in this episode. It's Saitaro, who keeps crying because the prisoners keep picking on him, and that's when Hajime gives him the explanation, like, oh, you give Nico an anime to watch, you give Rock the menu for tomorrow, you give Uno a clip from a girly magazine or a quiz on boyfriends and girlfriends, and then if you do all that, while Jugo will escape, he won't go far because he doesn't like going anywhere without his friends. This also led to another great scene later where they ignore him and he comes back crying. They turn him into their errand boy. But this innocent child of a soul who why is he guarding prisoners? It's a horrible job for him. What did you guys think of Saitaro? And keep in mind, my daughter will probably hear this and kill people who speak ill of her. I'm kidding. Chills.
I thought Saitaro was also kind of boring. He was like the whiny person that was always in the background crying and never up to tasks. There was like one pivotal moment where he really made a decision that impacted the plot, impacted things. But beyond that, for the most part, he was always just there to be kind of helpless.
I don't know if I 100% agree with that. For the most part, yes, but there was a couple times where he rose to the occasion, either comedically or action-wise, that I thought was made better because of how they established how pathetic he is.
Yeah. Also, I mean, his big thing was he was the prettiest guy in the entire Nanbaka.
I mean, he is beautiful.
Apparently.
His face looks like everyone else, but
exactly
gorgeous.
Just more sparkles.
I thought he didn't have a place in the prison, and the only one worse than him as a guard was Yamato. And it's like, how are you two still employed?
Which one's Yamato?
The workout guard.
The workout guy. Guard.
Oh yeah.
So Hajime is basically doing this job by himself.
Yes,
true. That is true. He's so good, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so I mean, I didn't find his character all that impressive and or important to the story at all.
Maybe not to the story, but to the comedy. I think he has some.
And that's the problem, is that I'm not a comedy guy, and I didn't find this one particularly funny. So because of that, like, I was like, the story could have been told without him, and I would not have missed him.
Okay.
I think that could be said of so many characters in this, though. Like, yeah, I think if we do use that as like a bar, I think we'd be left with like 4 characters, 5 characters.
Strongly disagree.
You wouldn't be able to make all the jokes, but you'd have a more coherent story.
Maybe. I think some of the side characters that aren't big yet, and we don't even talk about them in this podcast, really, I think are going to become bigger in season 2, like Honey and Choice. I think they're going to be much more important.
God, I hope
I
not.
really wish not.
Well, they are. I've seen anime music videos, and they feature heavily into the story. In fighting ways, though. Okay, so...
Oh, what? With their looks?
At the end of episode 3, he has arrows for hair, man. It's going to be great.
He must have been experimented. I'm sure that these have all been experimented on. That's got to be the big reveal.
Yeah, I'm thinking that. There's a great scene in this episode because it's New Year's Eve and Hajime has to clean the warden's office. Is another scene where he's like, she's staring at me so intently, and she's just like, he's so hot, and that drip of sweat falls to her desk, and she like reaches out and catches it in her hand, and he floats in the ocean of his sweat.
There were some really good gags with her revolving around her.
That was one of my favorites. Also, Yamato bursting in on a horse in the middle of their prison because he's excited for New Year's Day.
Where did he get it? But I mean, obviously,
right?
Nanbaka.
Well, apparently this prison is so huge, it took a 30-minute tram from Building 3 to Building 13.
Well, they have their own mall, and they have their own ski resort, and their own theater.
Ski resort, jeez.
Ski resort. Like, it is a resort. Huh?
That's only for the guards, though.
Yeah, that's only for the guards. It's like there's all these prisons, and there's this giant, awesome town in the middle.
Yep.
The Nanbakas then decided to celebrate New Year's by trying to escape. But the story then goes to the New Year's tournament, which every year the warden puts on to show the guards' might to all the prisoners. Which is a really stupid reason to have a tournament, especially since there's a lot of fighting in this tournament, and you have guards and prisoners teaming up to fight guards and prisoners. How are you keeping prisoners from attacking guards? But you know what?
None of it makes sense.
We're introduced, we've already seen them, we're introduced to a lot of the other guards, so we're going to talk about all 3 together. You guys just point out the parts you like and don't like. So there's Goku, the monkey guard. It's two U's, so it's not copyright infringement. Kenshiro.
They make a really good gag about that, by the way.
Yeah. Kenshiro, who is everyone calls him the dog, and he has that weird pink tail coming off of the back of his head, which I didn't understand how that related to a dog, but that's fine. Mm-hmm. And then there's Kiji, who is the pheasant, who is a man who likes to dress in makeup and one of those anime characters that we come across so often. I did think it's interesting. There is a Japanese legend. I think it's the Boy in the Peach or something like that. And he meets a dog, a monkey, and a pheasant on his journey that join him. And it's not Journey into the West, but it's one of the Japanese folklore legends. And these 3 animals are represented in that story. And I was like, oh, well, that matches the 3 guards. And then if they are those animals, Hajime would be the gorilla. Everyone calls him gorilla.
Yeah.
He's so strong. We meet these 3 guards. We meet a lot of prisoners. We're not going to talk about all the prisoners we meet in this tournament, but what do you guys think of these 3 guards? Which ones stood out to you? Which ones complain about again?
Kenshiro was really the only one that stood out to me, just because of his backstory, being involved with the experimentation. The other 2 I really didn't care for. I didn't think they were funny.
I like Kenshiro for the same reasons. Also because he was the next straight man. Like he was another guard that was a lot like Hajime. They were so similar in many ways. He just was the second best. And then Goku, I actually kind of liked Goku. He was this feisty little snot that was always causing problems, being the monkey in the tree screaming at you, throwing crap at you and whatever, coconuts, but being totally ineffectual in everything. And so he entertained me a bit. Kiji just fell into that same category of all the like, oh, we're so beautiful and look at us. That's our contribution to this anime is our sparkles and our beauty. Come on, guys.
He had a cool weapon. I like Kiji's weapon.
Well, which one was that? Oh, he had the 2 cestus things, right?
Yeah,
throwing. Yeah, those were pretty cool.
It was interesting to see that Goku was very much modeled not just after Monkey, but the Monkey King, or at least the legend of, because like his staff,
including the power pole.
yeah, his staff was very just like the legend. So
I kept trying to figure out what's with that tail, like where, and then I realized, okay, it's just coming out of his belt, but why does it move? Like, is it?
He's the Monkey King.
Is it like
so much the Monkey King that he didn't have the same hat as everyone else? Instead of the numbers, he has the Monkey King crown with the curves on his hat.
Well, Kichi also has a different hat too.
Does it just more glamorous? I
thought
it looks more like a tiara.
Okay, makes sense.
My big issue with them is, I thought Goku was a fine rival for Hajime. I thought it was weird that we then created another rival in Kenshiro with Hajime. Like, what? Hey, does he really need two rivals? Where Goku is just a rival in, like, for promotions or whatever. Kenshiro is the love rival that Hajime doesn't even realize he has. I agree about Kenshiro. I liked where his story arc is going. I kind of thought he would end up being a villain, but it was kind of cool finding out that he's more than just a guard and that he's kind of connected to this whole conspiracy going on.
I like that he didn't end up turning into a villain, actually.
I honestly thought that when they we'll get there, but I thought they were going to reveal that, but I was pleasantly surprised.
Oh, his hat's different too. He's got like a weird
different
star thing going on.
So the tournament begins. The first thing they do is the handwriting contest, which Building 13 wins everything. Just so we get that clear right now.
I think we all expected that.
For jokes, like Jugo's Japanese handwriting is awful. He can't write kanji. But then is it Yamato that comes in and does it perfectly?
No, it's Hajime and
Yamato.
Yeah,
it's the two of them. Yeah, they both have master's degrees.
Then the next up is mochi pounding.
Yeah, pounding that rice.
Yeah, pounding rice in giant bowls on giant pillars that you have to knock over. This ends up being Rock and Yamato's fight. Rock fights his rival from another building, and he wins because he believes in the power of stone oven pizza.
See, that was actually, I like that. I was like, okay, yeah, I can get behind that. That's cool.
I like that the guy did a flame kick, and they're like, isn't this a gag anime? Like, why is he doing an anime power move? That's not what this anime is. Yep. I was like, yeah, that's the kind of jokes. I really like anime jokes that poke fun at animes and the tropes that we deal with so often. I mean, we've done it ourselves where we make fun of tropes. I like seeing that in an anime comedy.
I wondered about it up till this point. I was actually having a lot of trouble trying to figure out, like, do I take this anime seriously? I mean, I know it's a joke. I know it's called Nanbaka, but at the same time, there seems to be a thread of, I'm supposed to care about these characters. They're trying to develop that in me. And then they keep doing like really crazy stuff that I can't make any sense out of. And then when Yugo said, I thought this was a gag anime, I'm like, oh, okay. All right. Fourth wall. I got it.
Yeah, the fourth wall break. But you're saying in the first episode where they curse so much at each other that the anime literally breaks down to technical difficulties, you didn't catch on?
I still didn't. I was like, I'm so not used to anything like this that I was like, okay, maybe they're really having technical difficulty. I don't know. but I was still willing to be like, all right, I'll go on this journey with you guys. I'll get to know you. And I was like, you're just not doing it for me. What's going on? And then when he said that, I'm like, oh, okay, I get it.
The next game they play is Hyakunin Issue, which is kind of like memory game, but you're completing poems.
So there's pieces of poems. Like the poem is broken out onto different cards. Right. And then as he reads it out, it's who can pick out that section of the poem fastest.
But they're all flipped over, so you had to remember where they were. Like you had to see them.
No, they're all face up.
You have to be able to. I think you have to be able to read them fast enough.
No, they all looked face up when they did the close-ups.
Okay.
Which apparently Seitaru is amazing at. Like this is the only skill he has.
Which I thought was a nice joke after the last episode where we saw how pathetic he is. And
You're right.
he immediately volunteers and everyone's like, wait, him? Why are we letting him do it? And he's like, bam, bam, like so fast you can't even see him.
I forgot he did that. Yeah.
There's something enjoyable about a pathetic character being supremely awesome at a very unique thing and everyone being like, yeah, there's a reason we keep him around.
Yeah.
Plus he's beautiful. Uno is the other contestant and he's actually up against two prison because they're allowed to use two inmates and Jugo didn't want to play. So Uno has to go alone and he's getting whooped and they're like, yeah, I know you want to cheat. You can't cheat. You're a cheater.
Well, he can't read kanji. He's not Japanese.
Yep.
So they assume the only way he can win is cheating. And, you know, this is the gambling addict. So that's just their assumption. Like, hey, you're going to cheat and we're not going to let you. We can figure out how to beat you. And then at the end of the episode, even though he's getting beaten badly, he gets this big old smile. And then the next episode starts and he wins easily by learning that they're both contestants tells that he's up against. This is Honey and Choice that we'll probably talk about next time we talk about this anime. And because he learns their tells, he's able to figure out what card they're going for before they even start to reach, and he gets it first. And because Saitaro did so good, he only needed to do moderate, and so he wins. They win the contest again. And then the best fight, which is the top spinning. This is where Nico does it with Hajime, and Hajime is fighting Goku, but Nico has to go up against two people. One is a medicine expert, pharmaceuticologist, who we find out tries to poison Nico, but because he's Nico, it has no effect, and so he goes and takes a nap.
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought you would find endearing, Troy.
Yes.
You thought right.
I love a character who naps. I was like, I respect you, man. And then the next character that Nico fights is Upa, who I thought was psychic because he had seen him flying earlier. That's the whole reason he got into this contest is because he was like, it's a flying dude, and he jumps down.
Yep.
This guy fires an energy blast, and he was like, that's the Kamehameha.
Yeah, that was good. I enjoyed this joke.
I thought they were cursing, but then I realized, no, it's copyright infringement they're protecting again. Because the other Nanbakas say, we have to get ready. And they start preparing things. And Yamato's like, what are you guys doing? They're like, we have to get ready to censorship. And I do the fuzzy screen. I do the bleeps.
Yep. That was good. I enjoyed this whole.
Yeah, again, real fourth wall breaking for like the first time here. They went all out here. And it ends up with Nico doing a blast from G Gundam. I don't know if you guys know what that is. It's a Gundam series, but it was more of a fighting where they did fighting battles, but in Gundams. And the guy always did this thing where he's like, my heart or my hand glows with the fury of my heart or something. And so that's exactly what Nico says. And then he's able to shoot his own energy blast.
That's why they say this is the thing he's always wanted to say.
Right, because he watched that anime, and so he could do anime moves. And my favorite part was not only does he win the fight because of this, he blows away the censorship because it's so powerful. The fuzzy screen goes flying.
I did love when they said it's a Kamehameha beep, and then they make the joke of, well, everyone's gonna know what it is if you censor just the last part.
Yeah. Yep. I actually really enjoyed this part because the character that he was going up against, that Nico was fighting against, was using Qigong. And I had to go look this up because I've heard about it before and I forgot to check it out. Qigong is awesome. Qigong and Tai Chi, absolutely awesome stuff. So I've been like reading up on it. And
so you're welcome.
I tried. Yeah, I know. There's one thing I took away from this anime. I actually started trying to do some. I found the 8 brocades, like some walkthrough, and I know it's not supposed to be something where like you get sore from it, but apparently I'm in terrible shape because I am so sore. So thank you. That was actually really, really cool.
So the last episode of this little tournament, Nico, they win that. There's a great scene before when this one starts where the radio announcer guard catches the warden looking at chocolates in a catalog. He has this great line that says, we're probably not going to be able to do a Valentine's Day episode till the next season. and she gets all embarrassed and flustered as he runs away. Ooh, I got you. Yeah, this tournament arc, they just like tore that fourth wall down. They did not care anymore.
Yeah. Now, I have a question regarding the tournament. It was interesting to me that some of the contestants that lost in the first parts of the tournament still got to play in the finals.
Well, so it wasn't an elimination. My understanding was that like we were just seeing Building 13's matches, but that every match, every building got to compete in every match, and then you just got points for how well you did. And since Building 13 managed to beat everyone they went up against, they had just had the most points at the end.
I think, now, tell me what you guys think, but I think it would have been more interesting if Building 13 lost one, but still won the tournament. Because then it would have been a surprise. You know, I think that would have drawn me in more because I'd have been like, oh, I expect them to win them all. Wait, they lost one?
I assumed they'd lose the handwriting, actually.
Really? The first one?
I didn't think they would lose like from the beginning because it was,
But they were this was classic fighting anime layout where you're showing off characters' abilities for the first time.
Yeah.
And so they never lose. You never lose when you're showing off character's power level. Like, hey, just so you know, Rocket's super strong and Nigo can do this. Well, you have to win for that to matter, so that when they lose later, that matters, right?
Right.
Mm, I guess so.
It's actually something that really bugs me from battle animes, and something My Hero Academia probably does better than anyone else because they break the mold. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
So the final battle is they have to open a sake barrel, and they make Jugo enter, and he's like, "Why me? Because you're the main character."
It's opening something. It's perfect for him.
Yeah, it was, but he didn't want to do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But he has to go up against another inmate whose name is Musashi, who is inmate 634. He's from Building 4. He wears a blindfold, and we find out he's a pyrotech. Is that the right word?
Pyrotech? No.
He's
taken fireworks.
He's taken spontaneous human combustion and been able to weaponize it.
He's Drew Barrymore in Firestarter. He can shoot fire.
Yeah. I can't believe I can't remember what this is called. It's going to drive me crazy.
Yeah. So Hajime has to fight Kenshiro, and Jugo has to fight this guy who he doesn't want to fight. But he knows this guy. He's actually the one who cut his one eye out. Both eyes?
Both eyes.
He has a scar this way, which isn't from him, and then he has a scar this way, which is from him.
Oh, you're thinking he just took his second eye out.
Yeah, but I'm not. We haven't seen yet any confirmation that that cut that went up and down his eye actually got the eye. But
he did say, "You took my eyes."
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Jugo cut his eyes out. They were both part of the same experiment, and
pyrokinesis.
Thank you.
Yeah,
good man.
It's driving me crazy.
Hajime's easily winning his battle, and Jugo keeps getting taunted by this guy about the scarred guard who put these black shackles on. We kind of forgot to mention that. He wears these black shackles around his neck, his hands, and his feet, and he can't remove them. They're the only thing he can't unlock. The only person who can take him off is the guard who put him on, and the only thing he remembers is that the guard had a scar on the back of his neck. This Musashi was experimented on by the same guard, and he wants the shackles for himself. This drives Jugo into his berserker state, and this episode ends with giant blades coming out of his arms. That's what the shackles turn into. They're pretty cool. I wonder what the feet ones will turn into swords too. What do you guys think?
I thought that they were going to, but they turned into what looked like leather belts wrapped around his ankles and leather belts wrapped around his neck.
Yeah, the neck one turns. I saw that. I didn't notice the feet.
It was weird because the fire guy has like leather belts wrapped all over his body, and so I thought, are those just transformed shackles? Like, does he want these shackles because he recognizes them? That's what I was thinking at this point in time. Didn't turn out to be that way, at least not from what I could tell. But that was just weird.
So then this anime does what I feel is its biggest misstep. And I get they were going for a joke here, but making me sit through a 22-minute one joke. It would have been really funny if they went to do that and we're like, no, psych, we're not going to do that. That would have been funnier and also more satisfying. Basically,
you mean when they do a flashback right in the middle of the fight? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. So the next episode starts, and the Mitsuru, who is the DJ radio guard, stops the show and is like, "Hey, let's go back in time and watch something else."
And then the other Nanbakas are like, "No, we don't want to do this."
And not only is it a non-important story, it's our least favorite character. It's 99, the ninja. It was already hinted at, if you were paying attention in episode 3, that this guy is actually an actor, because they kept showing news broadcasts of an actor being missing whenever on that guy's episode. He is an actor, and his manager shows up, and then we get his big flashback. I don't really want to talk about this episode very much. It's actually a kind of a sad flashback about a child being abducted by a movie director who forces him to work his whole life. And then he finds out that's not his real mother. And then you find out that his manager is his adopted brother, or the real son of the director, who never got any attention. So he hates him. The best part about this whole episode was Yugo getting caught by the guard cat. Whose name I wrote down? His name is Ku. He's a cat with a guard hat, and he might be the best character in this anime.
It's just another why for me.
Yeah. No,
guys, what if Ku ends up being the scarred guard in a different form?
I just have this really weird. I think that the scarred guard is Yugo's dad. I mean, he's got the same ability. It just seems like it's probably him. I'm probably wrong, but that's where I think it goes.
It'd be odd.
It would be odd. They'd have to explain it. Or maybe they'd just say, no, we're Nanbaka.
Honestly, with this anime, you don't know where the ending's going.
No, you don't.
You get serious, like, oh, that's heavy. Or, Nanbaka, they're aliens.
Exactly. Then maybe it's an elf. I mean, do you expect an elf?
Right. No, there's not a lot of reason to go over this too much.
No. I think you covered it very well.
Yeah, he talks with Yugo. They do blah 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 blah. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
And then Mitsuru's like, "Hey, let's go back to that fight." Never mind, we got to end the episode, and the episode ends.
And you're like, "Screw you!"
So we do finally pick up back in the fight in episode 8. Basically, the warden's like, we need to capture both these inmates. Their powers are way too powerful. All the prisoners are evacuate. Yeah. And Jubilee even fires like an energy blast that chops the arena in half and almost kills the other Nanbakas, but they're saved by Yamato, the greatest guard of all time. So the monkey, dog, and pheasant guard all capture the fire guy pretty easily when they find out.
I like that.
These guards are very powerful. Yeah, they may not have secret special powers, but they kind of do anyway.
They got great gear.
Yeah, they're very strong and they're very fast, and they have no problems.
This was like the one moment where I thought, wow, these guys are actually capable of doing their jobs. I'm impressed.
Yeah, but since the guards aren't evil, it really makes me wonder what the villain's power level is going to be. Is it really only going to be like one or two villains that all these guys have to take on, or is there going to be a whole nother army of villains? There's so many.
Is the show even going to go that direction?
I know there's battles up ahead from the AMVs. I don't know who and when, but I mean, there's so many good guy fighters. There's all these inmates we just met in this tournament. There's all these guards we just met in this tournament. And they're all heroes, really, protagonists, and they're all fighters. And we have one season to get all these battles through. So I feel like season 2 is going to be battle heavy, or a lot of these characters are going to just have to sit it out.
I don't get the sense that anyone's going to die. So that option's
So before you get into the Hajime's part, we do need to mention. So during the tournament, what is it? The fire guy and Jugo start getting into it, and all of a sudden it switches over to Hajime and the dog guy, and Hachime's got guns. And he's like,
oh yeah,
what? Why
that
do you
was
have
good.
weapons? And he's like, oh, there's a box of weapons over there. I picked these out.
And the warden's like, yeah, we put down that box full of weapons. And they're all fake weapons.
Right.
Yeah.
He's got rubber bullets in it.
Even though rubber bullets, I think, hurt a lot more than like a plastic sword or whatever they were using.
Yeah.
There was a good moment, though, when the dog guard pulled out the bow and shooting the rubber-tipped suction cups to Hajime's body. And then, of course, the warden's imagining him as a samurai hero going down.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that's right, because there's that whole moment of what's his name? The Kenshiro going, oh, I will be your hero, and he's imagining her going, oh, if you beat him for me, you can be my, my only one. And
Yep. Poor little dog.
So
and Hajime is just oblivious to the whole thing.
Oh,
it's just like, I am going to kill you.
Yep.
So Hajime attacks Jugo, and I think with a real gun this time. I'm pretty sure it was a real gun.
Yeah, because he was cutting bullets, and they did not look rubber.
Yeah. The Nanbaka's running. They're trying to stop Jugo, who is berserkly attacking Hajime, and they keep mentioning like this is going to get him in a lot of trouble. Like he's going to be put on trial for this. This isn't just going to be you get to sit around and hang out in Nanbaka prison anymore. This is going to be real. So
unless, of course, you do.
So true.
So his friends run in and are trying to stop him, and he's even willing to attack them to get through. But Hajime eventually steps in. He punches him so hard in the stomach, he vomits blood all over Hajime's head. Which, okay, we've had like silly fourth wall breaking, and suddenly there's this drastically violent scene. That is intense to have punch a guy so hard he throws blood up all over you, and you just like, yep.
Yeah.
And then proceeds to just beat him because he's like, my job is to, contain you and also interrogate you. And
yep.
Yeah.
He beats him until the warden forces him to stop. And we find out, a few days later, he beat him nearly to death, and he's been in a coma since. They assume he'll be waking up soon, but I mean, he took him to the line. The other guards are pissed at him. Like, why would you do that? Why would you go so far? And he visits the Nanbakas. They yell at him, like, and that's when they say, like, would you kill for your job? He's like, yeah. Of course I would.
Yeah, and he's completely remorseless for nearly killing him.
He does at one point say, though, he went too far. I think he says
yes. Yeah, he does say that.
Yeah.
But he does get suspended. He gets suspended for 3 days, which is the exact amount of time Gyogo needs to heal.
Yeah.
and Momoko is sobbing at her desk.
Mm-hmm.
He's devastated by it because 3 days without work is a nightmare to him, and she's devastated by it because she had to hurt the one she loved.
Oh God!
Sorry, I loved it. I love this so much, guys. I ship them. You know that.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. So then we do a 3-day time skip where Hajime comes back, and we get him and Kushiro decide to interrogate these two wild inmates. But they decided to bring them walkie-talkies so they can talk to each other. They're not allowed to see each other. They've been separated, and they're in the basement section, which is like solitary confinement, but they keep saying it's not. But they bring them these walkie-talkies so they can talk. And Wasashi's basically like, yeah, I may have overdid it there. And then he he's like, I want those because I want to kill the guy who did this to me. He kind of gives some of his backstory.
Which is really sad.
Yeah.
Like, his was the worst backstory as far as, like, being sad out of everybody.
And it's not only sad, we had to watch it twice.
Right.
It literally gives his backstory twice, so we had to sit through it 2 times. That was a little odd storytelling. It wasn't just, like, filling in the gaps. It was, like, literally going over a lot of the same plot points.
I think the second time was to introduce Elf.
we do learn Musashi's. Yeah, I think you're right. Musashi's powers have been dampened. He can't use them anymore because of Nanbaka has that kind of technology.
Apparently.
Nanba prison.
Well, I mean, if this is where the original experiments took place, I mean, he said it was in a German prison, but what does he know?
Hajime then talks to Hugo, and he calls him empty again. This is like the second or third time he's called him that, and points out he lacks greed because he doesn't want anything, and that his entire life has been focused on this objective, and he refuses to accomplish that objective because then he would have nothing afterwards. It's all anime emotional stuff, guys.
But actually, really, because I actually enjoyed
hated it.
this scene. This was one of my favorite scenes because it not only exposed Jugo for who he was and what he was, but like Hajime did it in just such a nonchalant fashion. He's like, am I missing something that most people have? He's like, yeah, of course. Like, why don't you see this? He's like, what is it, desire or greed or whatever it's called. He's just really, really nonchalant about it. I loved it. But I actually enjoyed the scene for the depth. This was the one time they did some like realness, and that's why I said these couple episodes really turned me around for my how I like the anime, because it showed Jugo not only that he was empty but like him escaping was all a facade, because he didn't have anywhere to go. He had no intention of actually leaving.
So I had a couple thoughts on these episodes. Again, the tonal switch is jarring to me. I don't mind that there's drama and action in a comedy anime. I like comedy in my action and drama animes. That's fine. It's not weaved together very well. It literally feels like a switch was thrown and we're in a different anime.
Yes.
And because it had been a comedy anime for so long, our characters aren't super deep and our plot isn't super deep. Fine for a comedy anime, but now you're asking me to get into the deepness. And I this wasn't a bad scene, but I was sitting there like, yeah, let's go back to the jokes though. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, this is what I found interesting. Like, he is drawn in black and white.
Yeah,
and
I really did like that. I noted it down.
But it wasn't due to the lighting in his cell. It was to show a distinct difference between someone that's empty, someone that doesn't really belong in their world, and everyone else, which was vibrant and colorful and had sparkles everywhere. But if you notice, like, the sparkles are very centralized on people. They're not just willy-nilly. They always follow people around. In this scene, Jugo not only doesn't have the sparkles, but he's completely black and white until he asks for his chance.
Which is where this leads to.
I guess the reason that I didn't like it was pretty much everything that you said, Troy, combined with the fact that I don't know that I necessarily agree with the premise that was being offered, that he has no greed. I think that what he wanted simply was no longer available. You know, he has a goal. He has something that he wants. He wants to find the guy with the scar. He wants to find out what's going on with the shackles. He's been denied that. He got beat to a bloody pulp so that he can't have that. You know, being forced to not be able to reach what you want is not the same as not having a want, not having a greed. At the same time, also, he cares for, the other three Nanbakas. So he's not empty. It's just a matter of right now he's so depressed that he's forgotten all the things that he wants. And to me, that's a very different thing. And it would it didn't come across presented to me as though he had forgotten. It came across as though they were trying to argue that he didn't have it in the first place. And so I didn't agree with that presentation, combined with the fact that it was so angsty right on the tail of everything else that had happened. And it just didn't taste right to me. But I totally get what you're saying, though, Jason. And I can see how that change of flavor would add that little level of darkness to it as well.
one of my other problems with it is the same what I complained about earlier with Hajime. He literally just beat this man down, and now he's giving him life advice. And I'm like, are you here for him, or do you hate this man? I don't understand Hajime, and not in a way that most of this anime doesn't make sense. This is a character who has motivations and stuff, and I can't keep them straight. I feel like he's flip flopping on what he wants to do with these prisoners.
He comes across to me like a disciplinarian, someone who is like, all right.
He almost killed him.
Yeah, that's disciplinarian out of hand.
It's very pointed out that he would have killed Jugo almost nonchalantly. And I get he was in a berserker rage, but he clearly was outmatching Jugo. And was like, I'm going to kill him just because I can. And then and then he comes back 3 days later and he's like, look, man, you need to get your life figured out. You almost killed me. You don't tell me what to do with my life anymore. You're out of the life advice game.
I think I have an idea of what could be kind of going through his mind there in this circumstance. We know that Hajime is extremely focused on whatever his job is, and his job is to maintain control of his inmates. And he just lost control in front of the warden. He can't hide that. Mm-hmm. When Jugo went nuts and was in berserk mode, Jugo's behavior was such that he was going to be in so much trouble that he would either be executed or locked away in some other horrible place or something. I wasn't clear on exactly what that punishment was, but it was very clear it would be extremely severe, possibly leading up to death. Possibly. And so, if you think of a prison where an inmate gets a knife and charges a guard, it's within that guard's rights to defend himself, even to kill the prisoner if they have to. Now, we can argue, of course, like you did, that Hajime clearly didn't have to, but in that moment, he had the technicality of being able to, and it would be the cleanest way to eliminate a serious problem. But as soon as Jugo was arrested and he was stopped so that he couldn't kill Jugo, now there's a different problem. Now, what looks better on paper is it that you find a way to reform your inmate, or that you send him off to the executioner. At that point,
let me ask you both. I want both your answers on this. Does Jugo care about the Nanbakas? Not Jugo, I'm sorry. Does Hajime care about the Nanbakas?
In a deep recess of his heart, his job comes first.
Yep, totally agree.
If Uno, for some reason, had found a weapon and was threatening another guard, Hajime would not hesitate to kill him.
100%. Yep.
Okay.
But when it comes to the antics, when it comes to his, stone oven in the game room, he lets things slide.
And I think that may be a major factor in what contributes to this anime's strange, sporadic nature, because he has like this huge range of things that he allows and he's okay with, and he'll just, beat them up a little bit, get them back in shape, put them back where they have to go. But once they cross that line, things get really, really serious, like deadly serious. And the anime almost has that flavor as a whole. Everything's fine until you reach this point, and then it's just angst like crazy, depression like crazy, and serious story like crazy. So I don't know. I think there might be a pattern there.
All right, let's keep going. I think I agree with you guys. I just don't think I like it. I want Hajime to like.
Aw.
Okay. We rewind 3 days because why not? And we get each of the other guards having to guard Building 13 for 1 day and what that looks like. And it's really just kind of silly antics for filling in the story. When Kenshiro does it, they go to Nico's checkup. That's where we meet the robot nurse, and they hit on her, and it's creepy.
But that was great. That was great.
And all the time, and you see a female robot in a short skirt. You might not be as picky as you would normally.
Yeah, but they're asking it out on dates and like what color its panties are. And
desperate guys.
Like that's okay.
I mean, how long have they been in prison?
Yeah, better than the robot than their
also
bunkmate, right?
Yeah. Also, like robots are a real thing now. So
yeah,
this is true.
Robots that people hit on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's robots that. Never mind. Let's.
Bless you, Japan. Making then when who's the next guard? Kiji. This just becomes we get an explanation of how big the prison is, and she teaches them where everything is. It's weird they didn't know by now, but especially since they have the internet.
Yeah, this was clearly for us.
Yeah, clearly for the audience. And then it becomes a looks contest, which Saitaro wins, and they all yell at him, and he runs away.
Mm-hmm.
Poor Saitaro. Poor sweet innocent child.
Yeah, does not belong there.
And then Goku and Training Day, which is okay. This one made me really laugh because Goku's like, "Wait, you guys aren't awake yet?" And then they realize Yamtaro's coming, and they all hide in their cell in different places because he wants to train. They're like, "No, we don't want to train." And then the ninja shows up, and he's like, "I want to train." And they're like, "Oh, but Jugo died, so we're sad." He's like, "Oh, well, I guess we can't." They end up having to train. It ends up being the thing. But it was very funny watching them, like Uno using Nico as a shield, and then Rock, who's already been grabbed for training, coming back and be like, "No, he had his medicine. He can totally train."
That was good. Tattletale.
This is what I've been waiting for, from the last episodes. Like, some good silly antics. It's what I was enjoying in the first place, so I was glad to come back to it. However, it does end with Jugo coming back. He's brought by Hajime because he used his wish from winning the tournament, because every prisoner that won got a wish of an item, and he wished for a chance. Sure. And so he gets to go back to Building 13. Still, I feel like a waste of a wish. You can have a helicopter.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Apparently you could have anything because their wishes are absolutely unreasonable.
He gives a big apology, and the guys are just super excited to get a sincere Japanese apology with the bowing and all that stuff. It's really cool for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that scene was kind of funny where they're just like, he's trying to apologize, and he's like,
"Yeah,
is this a real Japanese apology?"
Japanese apology.
And then the best scene in the entire anime, which is Momoko getting ready for Hajime to come back into her office, and the security guard gives her advice like, "You just need to smile." And then he's like, "Pretend I'm him," and he puts the mask over his face, and so she beats him severely. She's covered in blood right when Hajime walks in, and she tries to smile, and it's just this wicked, evil smile, and he just turns around and walks out. Like, nope.
Yep. That was the best scene.
This 100%. woman is so hard up for this guy, and her one big chance she blows it. One of the things I hated, though, is she leaves the anime from this point on. For the last 3 episodes, we don't get to see her again. She was literally my favorite part. She still is. That joke is always funny to me. I don't know why it gets me every time, but I love that joke. Okay,
they didn't ship.
Who did I not ship? Who did you want?
No, they didn't get to ship at the end.
It's gonna happen. Okay, there's a whole nother season. Whole nother season of love.
Oh boy.
The next episode is them getting their prizes for winning the tournament. So Rock gets his stone oven, and he has the guy he fought, who was his rival, come and share the pizza with him. We get the peach buns, which and Jason, one of your favorite characters, the chef, who's this giant burly dude who used to be a prisoner, and he loved the chef's food so much he came back to study under him and is now the head chef of Building 13.
Shiro. But yeah,
Shiro.
he was so great.
And he never changes his facial expression. He's like, he's so happy. How could you tell? And he blushes in the scene about the peach buns too, which makes me really happy.
Yeah, because the rival was like, this tastes like home, which I thought was endearing and out of place for a prison anime. But anyways.
I mean, guys, we could have watched Oz. Okay, we get a flashback of Rock, and apparently we disagree on the scene. Jugo when Rock first got thrown in prison, the guards weren't feeding him because he was so ornery, so aggressive. Jugo easily breaks into his cell, offers him some bread. He's like, I don't want crap food. So Jugo breaks him out of prison and takes him to a hamburger joint. And that's when Rock realized how important good food is, and like that's when he became a foodie from that moment on, and also how his and Jugo's friendship. I thought that was really cool, especially since there's a guy who's obsessed with food. To give him at least a reason for being obsessed with food instead of just being like, yeah, he's a big fat guy. Of course he loves food.
He's not fat.
I know, but he's the big food guy. Usually there's just because he loves to eat. Ha ha ha.
It's like the Goku thing, just pound down as much food as he can to sustain that power.
But he gives speech about how like good food always makes people smile, and I thought the scene was nice and touching.
I didn't mind the scene. It was actually, I like the idea that Jugo stuck with him. He didn't just say, oh, well, if you don't want it, fine. See ya. I'm out of here. He actually had this compassion to, well, this isn't going to solve the problem. I'm going to find a different way to solve the problem. And so, he does what only Jugo can do, and the only thing Jugo can do, which is get him out of prison and take him somewhere where, I don't know how they bought the burgers, but they got the burgers. That's what matters. It was an interesting scene. To me, it said more about Jugo than it did about Rock.
Which it's kind of hinting at. We're getting more Jugo backstory really than the other guys, just to show how he does really fit in with this group and how they've all come to orbit him in his life.
I don't mind it, but it just came across as like a shallow backstory for a shallow character.
Yeah,
I'd agree.
Comedy anime, everybody is shallow.
Yeah.
I agree it's shallow, but I found it endearing. Sorry, Jason, go ahead.
I don't think you can keep making that excuse though. That it's comedy anime. It's bad storytelling.
Do you think that is there a sitcom where the characters are deep?
Oh, Seinfeld, of course. Everybody loves
an
Raymond.
amazing show. I love that show.
Jeremy's been watching Third Rock from the Sun.
Third Rock from the Sun.
Not
Absolutely
not complicated,
insane.
not deep characters.
No. I mean, if you watch enough seasons, they do start to have threads that are interesting, but in one season, no, by no means.
But even Seinfeld, I mean, Kramer's not a deeply complicated person, and neither is Jerry.
You can certainly find some weird stuff about Kramer. Like, he's always on the cutting edge of whatever is, like, the newest, craziest thing.
Yeah, but that's
that's
his
not
gimmick. He's not like there's not like an emotional backstory to give him that weight.
That's true. It's true. Yeah.
So I do get to keep using that excuse because it works in all other mediums.
All right, fine.
If this is in like the sitcom category, then I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
If it's not like this is a cool anime that's worth watching.
Yeah.
So sitcoms aren't worth watching?
Is there that thing where you lay around
debatable.
with one eye and laugh?
Yeah, it's debatable.
Hey, if it's King of Queens.
I feel like you guys are giving comedy anime a completely different set of judgment guidelines than any other medium. But you know what?
I think it stems entirely from the fact that I know myself, I just haven't found a comedy anime that I've really liked. And so I can't think of anime as something that is more comedy than anything else, or even the same ratio comedy. I mean, One Punch Man is probably the closest, but
That's what I was going to ask. One Punch Man. Yeah,
for me, comedy is always something that just kind of sits in the backseat. We'll talk more about it later, I'm sure,
Okay.
But I think that's where it stems from.
I guess they shot themselves in the foot with coming up with Jugo and Nico's decent backstories. Like, and also this ongoing threat of inmates getting experimented on. I think
I agree. Rock's backstory is not anywhere near as interesting as the others, but for a shallow character, it's at least I think it's as good as he's gonna get, and it's way better than it could have been.
So let me see if I understand correctly really quick here. So what you're saying, Jason, is that by providing a couple of stories that are decent and good, they upped the bar too high.
For me, I feel
Okay.
I feel this character deserved. I didn't really care about this character too much, but right. I guess I felt he deserved a better backstory than I was hungry, so Jugo broke me out to go to a restaurant. Might as well have not like that. That could have been a conversation in passing.
Well, don't forget
an
Rock,
entire section of the episode devoted to it.
Rock is also a rich kid. He grew up on good food. He didn't ever eat stale bread.
That's an interesting point. I hadn't really thought
in the beginning
that.
of this episode, he wakes up from a dream of running away from his father in this big giant office building, and his father's like, "I'm cutting you off," and that's when he became a gangster on the streets.
So he's kind of like a failure at independence because he wants independence so bad, but in his independence, he has to find what he had, which is a resort with good food.
yeah, he got screwed.
Well, let's move on.
Okay. We then get Nico's, and it's almost a repeat. He invites the people he beat over, and they play. He gets an arcade. He asks for a video game system.
I was about to say. So I understand the stone oven, like that's not just functional, but it's also something that can be installed in a kitchen. It can be monitored. They installed a freaking arcade, and this arcade's huge. And it's like,
yeah.
Did you guys get the impression that it's because the doctor and the doctor's wife are endeared to Nico because they treat him every day and because of how like it's helped them? I got the sense like that he helps them with research and stuff because of everything going on with him, that they went an extra mile for him.
Maybe
because they not only gave him an arcade, then they give him a personal gaming device.
Oh yeah, yes,
that plays everything.
It plays everything.
It's a Raspberry Pi. I thought this was interesting because what they built for him, they said they just got carried away, right? But when you get kind of the pan around inside of that arcade, or you get to follow them through the shots, there's tons of different arcade machines that are they're the same as each other. So it's like, how many can Nico play at once? It's obvious that this was for the entire prison complex.
But that's what he wanted.
I didn't get the impression that's what he asked for. I got the impression
for a console,
for a game, a console. Yeah.
But they also had Namba fighters with all the.
Yeah, they did have that.
It's really cool, and they had the dolls because
which means they had to make plushies that looked like all the prisoners.
They have a ski resort. They have the money and the resources. This is silly.
Yes. This is silly.
Yes,
as it should be. Okay. We get Nico's flashback. I gotta speed this up a little bit. We get Nico's flashback. Basically, it leads to Jugo giving him a manga because he loved the pictures in the Japanese book, but he couldn't read. So he's like, "Here, just have a manga. Way more pictures." And that's what got him into anime and all that stuff. Musashi also comes up, the fire guy, and he's like, "Hey, I'm here too. Remember, I was a jerk. My bad." And Uno makes apologize. And he's like, "You're cool, dude. You could be my wingman anytime."
Yeah, it became really clear that all of these things that they asked for and the way all this works together is just a way to unite all the inmates so that we have a unified fighting force.
Yeah.
That's super clear.
The next episode, we get the Musashi's backstory again, and like Jason said, it's to introduce a villain who's coming up soon. We're not going to talk about him yet. We're going to wait till the next episode. But it's kind of it worked him into the same backstory and let him show how he appeared multiple times and how he was responsible for the fires that got Musashi in trouble and all this stuff. Then we get Uno getting his award, which is just a room with a couch, and then he has everyone else bring gaming equipment into it, like pool, billiards, darts, mahjong table.
This is where Hajime finally starts to get upset at how overboard this is getting.
I mean, he got a pay bonus, so.
And then what did he say? He's like, "All right, you guys can be in here 1 hour a day." They're like, 1 hour.
Oh, that made me think of all the times that I wanted to role play, and then I was always told, 1 hour is the amount of time you get to play. And I'm like, you can't do anything in 1 hour. Are you crazy?
What am I gonna do? Roll the dice one time?
Yeah, exactly. I've got adventures. They take like 6 hours.
So then after this, Jugo goes outside for the night to hang out and under the stars because he can walk out of this prison whenever he wants. And while he's out there, Elf shows up, who's the name of that villain that we had mentioned earlier. So before we go into this last episode, thoughts on Elf?
He's got the potential for a good villain, but he seems more of a sidekick villain.
Well, I mean, he is, for sure. I mean, he's definitely not the main villain.
Right. But he doesn't seem to have any aspirations for being like he had the potential to have those aspirations to be a nasty villain, but he just didn't seem like he did.
Okay. Jeremy?
You mean like to try and usurp the power of the main villain that we keep hearing about?
Yeah, because he doesn't seem to have any more power, responsibility, or evilness from when he was setting fires for Musashi. And it's been a long time.
Yeah. We don't see a lot of him, and I wonder, like, if a person's super evil and you just want to portray that they're super evil, and maybe they haven't changed, but they're still super evil. Because I definitely got the impression that he was, like, really, I mean, he just cuts his ear off for no reason, and, like, you know, he's going to slowly saw his head in half. I mean, this was, like, a really dark place that I did not expect. This character, I was wondering about him for a long time. There was even a time where he was peeking around a corner and Hajime saw him move and wanted to go investigate, but didn't. And so I was always wondering, like, how is he getting into prison? Is he one of the guards? What is he doing? How is he getting in and out of places? But he's obviously going to be like the big bad of season 2. I think. I don't think he'll be. Yeah, I don't think he'll necessarily be a henchman for at least 2/3 of it. I bet you. They'll probably introduce the main bad guy a little bit later.
So I was taken by surprise how scary and creepy this guy came off. That it did make me excited that he's a villain. Up until even in the flashbacks, I was like,
It's annoying guy.
But when he pinned Jugo down and draws that line over his face to cut his brain out and extract it and starts like going at him with a knife, that was an intense moment. And I was like, "What? Okay, this guy's on another level." And I agree with you. I think he could be a really good villain, but we don't know a whole lot about him, and we don't know really what's going on with him. So it's a little early to decide.
Yeah,
I agree.
So Elf does this whole thing with Jugo where he's provoking him, and he mentions, "I'm here also to get another subject. Like we're looking for more people to experiment on." So Jugo's like, I gotta get out of here. They'll follow me wherever I go, so I gotta leave this prison. He goes to escape the next day, and the rest of the Nanbaka say, "We're going with you." And we get almost a repeat of the opening scene, which I thought was really cool to bring that back around, except for they go through it much faster. He's much more serious. And they mention, like, he's unlocking locks faster than before, but he's also falling into traps way easier than before. They get to the end again, and Hajime's there again. But this time Jugo locks his friends behind the door. He won't let them, so they can't get out. And then he attacks Hajime with the all intent of killing him if that's what it takes to get past. Uno convinces Satoru to let them out and stop this fight from happening, and Rock and Uno jump in the way and they stop it. And there's a great scene where Uno gets his face cut and he punches Jugo for it.
That was good. I did not expect that punch. Yeah.
Even though they kind of did that same joke earlier, not for the thing, but they had Uno punch Jugo the last time they got reunited after the tournament. He walked into the cell and Uno punched him again. So I feel like they should have dropped that one and left this one, but that's a minor thing. And then Jugo decides to stay, and Hajime locks them all back up. Hajime was having a little trouble with the battle now that Jugo knows how to control his blades a little better. They pointed out. But again, other than just a cool mirror scene, but without the comedy of the opening of this anime, it just kind of set us up for him coming to the same decision he came to earlier, except for now there's more at stake.
Yeah. Yep. I liked it.
Yeah,
I thought it was a good wrap up for the series.
How about you, Jason?
No, it was definitely going down the right path of what I wanted to see in an anime. I mean, that's just for me, right? I think it has the potential to kind of turn around the silliness if that's what they want to do, and I don't think that would be the correct step for this anime. And I think you're right, Troy. They're trying to weave the two, and it's not working out.
Yeah, that's what I'm really hoping for season 2, that they get the weave in better. That like, let's focus on this serious story, but then pepper our jokes in, kind of more like a traditional anime. Like you see that kind of stuff with Dragon Ball, Naruto. I mean, all those guys do it, and maybe just a little sillier than them. Instead of here's an episode of funny, now here's an episode where everyone's sad.
Yeah,
I like I said, I'll say it again. I like where it's going with the backstory for Jugo and the experimentation. And it was refreshing to see a real villain show up. Unfortunately, I think it's the wrong anime. Like it feels like they're in the wrong anime.
Yeah.
And so I'm interested to see where they take it. But unfortunately, because of the storytelling I like to see, it's not jiving well with me as far as a whole. But I like this. I like this one, along with 7, 8, 9, and 10, and 11 and 12.
What would be your score for this anime?
7 was the ninja. You didn't like that.
Like a final score?
Yeah, we're at final reviews now, and
so
you can add more. But I felt like you were kind of summing up the whole anime anyway.
1 through 6, I would have given a 1, maybe a 2, kind of leaning because I don't do comedy animes very, very often, and it didn't hit my funny bone.
That's okay.
And I thought the storytelling was shallow, but the second season started to bring in some really interesting things that I actually started to care about. So it's a low 3, but I would definitely give it a 3.
Okay. Jeremy, how about you?
I thought that just about every character was sort of I stand for 1, maybe 2 things, and everything's going to revolve around that idea, and we're going to make jokes about that, whether it's, how attractive am I, or what are my skills, what's my skill set, or what power do I have, or what's my relationship with this other character. And so to me, a lot of it came off really shallow, but I think you're right when you say that it should be measured up against similar media in the sense of context. And so I can't really fault it for the shallowness. Again,
when they get serious, then you kind of can.
Then I can, yeah. Again, I'm kind of a stick in the mud with comedy, like Jason. But I have seen anime that's comedy done really well, like One Punch Man, like mentioned before, and we'll talk more about that in our minisode. So I would have to say that I didn't have as much difficulty with the first half. I probably would have given that like a 2.5. And by the end of it, I think that the whole thing for me was just right in the middle. It was like a 3, maybe even a little bit above a 3, because I got to give it kudos. It had a lot of funny moments, and it had a lot of interesting ideas for where its story was going to go. It just didn't put them together. Mm-hmm. It was too harsh of a contrast. So all in all, 3.
I watched the first 2 episodes, and I'm like, guys, I found my 5 Baka anime. I haven't given a 5 in a long time. I think I've done it once. I was real excited. Episode 7 hit, and things went downhill from there. So I'm only giving it a 4. I was thoroughly entertained from beginning to end, and at the end of the day, no matter what, that's what matters the most. I watched this with my kids who really enjoyed the humor. I really enjoyed the humor. I had a good time watching it. I do feel those tonal shifts are sudden and not well balanced between each other. That we've said that a bunch of times. I really love the characters, though. especially the main four. And I love stories about strong friendships, especially when there isn't, like with Flip Flappers, there's a romantic element coming in. And it's like, oh, so if you're strong friends, you start falling in love. I like when there's just four guys that are good buddies and watch out for each other. That's what I like. And, because I have close friends and I like seeing that the contrast, that similarities. 4 for me.
Now, I actually got a little bit of an impression that there was almost a sort of like a gentle call out to the harem trope going on just between Jugo and the other Nanbakas. Especially like it reminded me a little bit of Tenchi Muyo and stuff in the last few episodes, especially because they were all talking about how important Jugo was to them and how much they cared for him and how they'd never let him, leave on his own and they'd sacrifice their lives for him if need be, throwing themselves into the line of danger, knowing that he would, not hurt them. Just that relationship to me, you've got the big dumb Rock, you've got the little dumb Nico, you've got Uno, who's like the smart charismatic one,
the pretty dumb.
yeah, the pretty dumb. And some of the other characters that were introduced as other inmates and stuff, I could actually see as not necessarily being part of that harem for Jugo, but being as like they would step in for an episode or two as potential candidates and then step out. Not saying that there was, ever any romantic interest going on there, but I've seen in a lot of harem anime, they have this sort of pure love going on where there's never any outspoken romantic interest or anything. Did you guys get any sense of that at all, or was this all just something that was in my head?
I didn't get that at all. It felt like a band of brothers kind of.
Yeah. I didn't see anything like worse than what Krillin would say to Goku whenever he falls down. And I have a friend that I'm really, really close with that, that people always joke like, oh, you guys are in love.
Oh.
But he's just literally my best friend since 3rd grade, and we're like brothers. We've always have been. So when I see something like this, I relate very heavily to it. Like, yeah, I understand having a friend that's so close to you. They're basically our family. I get that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So from my perspective, no.
I think it must have been the little stars, the little twinkles.
Which never end. They never ended.
No.
The only thing that another issue was the character designs were a little odd. Everyone having colored fingernails. They obviously aren't painting their fingernails. They just are colored. Everyone has jagged, sharp teeth. Like I said, everyone's got the pointed chin. They went creative to 11 on making these characters, and they might have overdone it a touch because it was kind of hard to be like feel the character's personality when there's so much color and sharp angles everywhere.
It makes me wonder if they're like specifically targeting the cosplay community to get more attention on themselves by providing really easy and yet bright, extravagant cosplay outfits. I mean, because you could throw those things together, dye your hair, put on a wig, whatever, paint your nails, and bam, you've got those characters. And I could see cosplayers. We should
do that because I'm in.
Yeah, you in?
Well, it's interesting you say that, Jeremy, because every single character, like not just generalizing, every single character in this anime has a very, very unique look to them.
Mm-hmm. I bet you that they're targeting that as a particular demographic because it would also not only provide them with something really fun to do, but also give them a lot of advertisement and give this anime a lot of popularity.
The one other thing is like the characters were so creatively done, and the backgrounds were also so bland. Like, it was literally the same hallway every time. And
yeah.
All right, we need to wrap up.
Okay,
guys, if you have opinions on this or on the next season, we are going to season 2. That's our next anime. It got in by the wire with these guys. But yeah, we're going to finish season 2. You can reach us on our Twitter at Baka Podcast or email theanimebakaclub at gmail.com if you would like to comment, or you can leave a comment wherever you found this podcast, whether it be YouTube, iTunes, or whatever. I do recommend you stick around next week where we are going to talk about comedy. A lot of the issues we had had with this anime are probably going to come up in a more broader sense to get a better feel of why these guys hated this anime. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, guys. Hopefully things go better in the next season, and hopefully my opinion doesn't change. So we will see you then. And until then, let's say goodbye.
Thanks for listening.
Twinkle, 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 twinkle.
It's sparkle, 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 sparkle.
Okay.
Sayonara.
See you later.